when you find it, you make something great, you put it in the sandwich. When it works out, it works out. And there's always ways. I think that's what good being a chef, because you can be creative. There's no right or wrong.
The idea of authenticity is one of the most interesting conversations in food at the moment, and particularly in Australia, where we have people whose heritage spans the globe. At the risk of quoting myself, I was reading a review that I wrote of the chef's table at Kasume a few years ago, because I've recently eaten at Sushi On, a great sushi restaurant from a chef that has spent a lot of time at Kasume. And I was grappling with it there some years ago and asking myself, like, what is the point of recreating one place in another? Surely Australia's culinary energy comes in large part from contextual rethinks, and getting on this culinary high wire can mean can show a deep respect for tradition while broadening what's possible with Australian produce in an Australian setting. The results can often be exhilarating. So we're speaking today to Barry Susanto, who is the co-owner of Warkop, an awesome Indonesian-inspired sandwich place in Melbourne. Barry, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Hey, Dani, how are you?
I'm really good. So great to have you on the show, and thanks for the great sandwiches. Tell me from your perspective, like, what inspired you to do your Indonesian-inspired sandwich place in Richmond?
So, I mean, as we know, we've been through so many lockdowns during the pandemic and stuff. And during those times, well, like most restaurants do, I was at restaurant Navi in Yarraville, and we do is basically takeaways. And I mean, we're probably working less hours than we normally would, even though it's harder doing takeaway than actually serving people in the restaurant at that time. And but we have a lot of free time, so I thought, what can I do with myself with this whole free time, which normally I don't have working as a chef in the fine dining restaurants before. And so I thought, all right, well, obviously I love Indonesian food because my background is in Indonesia. I lived there for 18 years, and I thought, what can I combine between Indonesian food and what people can eat in Australia every day? So why don't we put it in between bread? So I did. Well, I have great colleagues, friends, and more like family at Navi for me, and they're willing to be basically the lab rat for me. So I tested out. I make some stuff. It's more, I wouldn't say it's authentic Indonesian, but it's more so my take on Indonesian flavors that I know, that I grew up with, that I'm so close with. And and they seems to love it. So everyone was like, oh, maybe it could be something good. So you could start something good here. So I was like, all right, yeah, maybe it's the right time after this pandemic and stuff. And I think it was December when we sort of come out of a lockdown, and then I go, yeah, maybe I started small. I tried to find something small, sort of in a city where I can afford it, and then I opened an Indonesian sandwich shop because I reckon people will love it. So yeah, we did that. We thought COVID is done, and we get really good feedback. Everyone love it. It's something new to the market as well, to the audience. I know there's a lot of great sandwich places in Melbourne. I thought I add another one to the list. But we start off really strong, and then 3 weeks in, we went back into lockdown. So that was a very one of the scariest time in my life, I feel like, because I don't really have anyone here other than my wife now. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to go for. I can't really talk to anyone. Lucky I have friends in the industry that I can talk to, exchange some ideas of it. So I thought, oh, it'll be okay. It'll be okay because also when we started in the business plan, we sort of thinking, well, we always ever thought what happened if we go back to lockdown. That's why we chose the Richmond place where we are currently because it's quite small. It's quite easy to turn it into takeaways again. So yeah, I mean, it was a very scary day. I still remember until now. And then, but as the lockdown happens, it's actually all right because the community in Melbourne is very strong. They're very supportive, and yeah, I was. It didn't really affect us that much, and it's actually kind of good in a way because people that used to go to the office and now they're staying at home, the only reason to go out is either exercise or buying some food, takeaway food, and then so they I think they search us a little bit more. That's where we get a lot more engagement with our well, most of them probably now more like a loyal customer than anything else. So it's kind of good in a way, but it was a very scary start at the beginning.
Certainly a really difficult way to kick off your business. And it's great to hear that you'd already created such a buzz about what you were doing that people supported you through those times. But Barry, tell us more about the sandwiches because, you know, from other conversations with you, I feel like you thought Indonesian food was, you knew how diverse it was, how interesting it was, but that you didn't see it represented that way in Melbourne. And then, you know, you thought, well, surely if it's in a sandwich, people are going to go for it. Is that sort of how it worked out?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, it's different country, different sort of food that they eat, and I mean, there's so many flavors in Indonesia that I don't think hasn't been touched at all in Australia. And I mean, a lot of the common places that people know probably Bali, Jakarta, and maybe Padang, but that's about it. But there's it's so many different because it's so diverse with languages, with ingredients, with food. You go different city, they have their own food. So I haven't actually cover up. I mean, I haven't actually find them all. Like I haven't really have a chance to travel them all. But um, the places that I've been, I always try. That's I think food is the most important thing for me when I'm traveling. I always try. All right, what's the ingredients? What the main ingredients, and what's their food that what they eat every day? And from my knowledge, and then because I mean I've been the chef for the past 13 years in Melbourne, and it's combined between knowledge and experience that I have. I thought let's introduce these flavors into a sandwich where it's basically the way Australian eat that they can eat every day. So yeah, I use my knowledge from the flavors. I try to find the ingredients. It could be challenging at times over here because you can't always get everything that you want it, or sometimes it's a little bit more expensive. But when you find it, you make something great. You put it in the sandwich, and when it works out, it works out. I'm not saying it's always works out, but there's always ways. I think that's what good being a chef because you can be creative. There's no right or wrong. It's always if it's tasty, it's good, full of texture. People will eat it. People will like it, and yeah, I mean, so far so good. All the Australians that been eating, even I mean, the good thing about Melbourne is it's so diverse and people welcome you very well. So they're willing to try something new. So when you give them something new, they go, "Oh yeah, I might give it a go." And most of the time, well, because you wouldn't give someone something bad. So and well, you already have like 10 times before you give it to your customers. um, and yeah, I mean they love it, and it keeps me going to make more sandwiches, to make something new. I mean, if you see our Instagram, we try to do specials every week where it's more like pushing boundaries, where what we can do with the traditional dishes from Indonesia, and then we turn it into a sandwich.
Give us a few examples, Barry. Like, take it. Talk us through a couple of the sandwiches that you think really speak to the project at Warkop.
Well, there's a couple of things. There's probably a few, but I think the most popular one probably our fried chicken sandwich. So, people that know that been to Indonesia or eat Indonesian food, we always sort of have this sort of yellow turmeric chicken thing, where you boil you marinate it in the turmeric mix, and then you boil it, and then you deep fry it, so it's like the skin crispy and then but still juicy in the inside. It's like on the bone, but it's honestly I almost eat that almost every day when I growing up. So it's very close to my heart. And then I thought, well, how do I turn this into a sandwich? So what I did, I get it's a chicken thigh fillet, butterfly, because I think people love schnitzels over here. People love fried chicken over here. And then butterfly. I brown it. I marinate it in the same turmeric mix that I would normally do if I do the turmeric fried chicken back home. And then you brown it for overnight. You crumb it with the panko crumbs, and then you just fry it. And then that's your basically the Aussie way of the turmeric fried chicken that we have. And then with the experience that I have, I always like about balance of the flavors, textures. So we have some kohlrabi pickles there. We put some sort of like a spicy sauce in there as well, and then we have some lettuce. We have some pickles in there, so it's all balanced, crunchy, and then a little bit acidic, and people would love it. Honestly, that's like crazy.
So delicious. And I mean, how do you decide which bread is going to work for these dishes?
I always sort of picture it in my head because there's so many breads that we can use, especially where we are here in Melbourne. You have so many great breads. I mean, I sort of condense it down to a few, and then maybe I try three different ones, see what works out better. And then I eat a lot of sandwiches to make sure it's good, because if it's I don't like if it's only, for me, good enough is not good enough. It has to be amazing, has to be perfect to go out.
I think one of the ones that surprised me the most was the gado-gado sandwich.
A lot of people actually surprised with it. Even a lot of Indonesian go like, oh, gado-gado in the bread. I was like, yeah, you should try it. It's amazing. And it's also vegan. So it's great for everyone.
So, what do Indonesian customers think about what you're doing?
They every time they come in, they go like, oh, Warkop, because Warkop is sort of like a street style coffee stall that you find every 10 minutes, especially in Java. You find it everywhere, but that's where you always go to your locals. So it's always interest Indonesian people when they walk past. They go, oh yeah, Warkop. So they go in, they expect to be like some sort of instant noodle, instant coffee, because that's what we do back home for Warkop. But they're like, oh, you're doing sandwiches? I was like, yeah, sandwiches and coffee, like a real coffee, not instant coffee, because we're using Duke's coffee, which is fully organic as well. And they're willing to try it. They go, yeah, I'll have a go in the bread. See how we go. It's very interesting. And then every time they try it, it's always like, oh, I can eat this every day. It's like it's different form, but I know the flavors, so I can eat this every day. Which is that kind of stuff that rewarding for me and keeps me going every day.
This episode is proudly supported by Montague, handpicked for you.
So the eating experience of our plums is sweet. That's a primary driver. It's got to be sweet, but it's also got to have enough acid, because the mix of acid and sugar is what gives fruit its flavour, and in a plum it tends to be slightly higher acidity, and then a really nice, full, not dry but juicy explosion of juice into your mouth as you bite into it. That's nirvana for us in terms of plum.
For more information, go to montague.com.au. I mean, a lot of people, come to Australia from other places, and they find here when they're cooking that there's a freedom here, even though, as you say, it can be hard to get some of the ingredients, but that in terms of creativity, this is a really great forum to express yourself. Have you found that?
100%. I found it Melbourne's amazing because, I mean, it's so many people from different countries, so many people moving in this country and then bringing sort of their background with them, which is I find it very, very, very amazing because I'm gonna tell you my personal story. I moved here about, I think it was like 2010, and then I barely speak English. I don't even speak English that much. So I thought, all right, I'll try to study cooking here, and then I tried to cook my way here, see where I'm at. I did that, and then I couldn't speak anything. It took me about 6 months for me to start saying things in English. So it was very hard, but I feel like people are always welcoming. They're always trying to help me, especially in the kitchen as well, because you spend a lot of time with them. You spend so many hours almost every day. You see them like your family because you see them more often than the one at your house. So, they're always willing to help you, and that's especially when you, for example, like when you do stuff meal, everyone doing their own thing because, like, I'm Indonesian, I always try to cook Indonesian food, and then there's this Nepali try to cook Nepali food, Indian guy try to cook Indian food, and it's always interesting because you can always learn from their food without going to their country, which I found it amazing because it's you can learn a lot about people through food. That's what I found it amazing, and Melbourne always allow you to do that, and Melbourne always, it's very welcoming to any food, and they're willing to try it. I think that's why we have so many different type of food in Melbourne. You can literally find anything in Melbourne.
Yeah, and I guess you can find, the Australian version of various Indonesian cuisines, or the Australian version of sushi. Like, it can be really quite detailed and rigorous, but it's its own thing. I think it's so fascinating. Navi is a small fine dining restaurant in the inner western suburbs of Melbourne. Chef Julian Hills is one of the best chefs in town. I'd love you to talk about what you learnt from that fine dining experience and how you've been able to translate it into sandwiches.
Look, Julian is great. He won Chef of the Year, obviously.
Indeed, he did, yeah.
I think that speaks for everything. But yeah, I mean, he's still a very close friend to me as well, which I'm very happy with. I can always talk to him about anything, and he's always been there for me. And I mean, fine dining is a good thing to have in your experiences, in your CV. I think it's more because the training, the intensity, it keeps you thinking about being precise, being consistent. Because I think that's the difference between like good food and great food. Because I think that's the consistency is the hardest. Because with fine dining, because people spend a little bit more in fine dining, so they expect a little bit more on everything when better experience, better everything, better food when you go to fine dining restaurant. Just because it's they a little bit more expensive than normal food that you have every day, and to be chefs in a fine dining restaurant. I mean, I was Julian sous chef for 3 years, and then that that helps me being consistent every day, because you have to be precise every day on what you do, because you want your customers to come back having the same experience or better. You can't have let your guard off and having an off day. You couldn't have that in fine dining, and people always sort of looking at you, and then just looking at your work all the time. So I think people a little bit more judgmental towards fine dining restaurant, which, I mean, each of their own. And yeah, I mean, training in fine dining, it's makes you better. I find it's quite essential experience to have if you want to be great chefs. Yeah, and I mean, with where I was at Navi, it's very small space. It was like 25 seaters, so it's like I can learn a lot from Julian, next to Julian, and then yeah, and I get a lot from him, and he always, yeah, he's the most perfectionist chefs I ever met and I ever worked with, and then that um, helped me until today to become consistent every day. Having, doesn't matter who's the customer is, doesn't matter who walked through that door. Especially as a business owner, you always got to give your best. You got to give your best product to them. If there's no, this is not bad, so you send it. No, it has to be amazing. Then you send it. It has to be perfect. I think that's what fine dining teaches you. Fine dining, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, Warkop is even smaller than Navi. It's a very small place, just a few seats, but everything's done very thoughtfully there. Like, it's a really nice, bright design. It's in a little back street. I think you really feel like you've stumbled on something special when you get there. Barry, we've talked a lot about the food side of things, but what about the business? I mean, going into business for yourself is, a huge step, and obviously you had to get through the lockdowns and stuff. But a couple of years on, how is that side of it going for you? Is it very stressful? Is it smooth? Like, how are you going?
It's lots of up and down, especially as a first business owner. But yeah, I mean, you learn, you never stop learning. It's always something new come up. It's either a problem or a reward. It doesn't matter, but it's always something new that you can learn, that always good for your knowledge, for the future reference. I mean, I'm very lucky to have Erwin as my business partner as well. He does a lot as well in the business. He basically put everything in the business as much as me, and I mean, this is our first business together, and this is and we started really small. As I mentioned it a little bit earlier, before we went through lockdown, after 3 weeks we opened. It was hard for the both of us, but then because of the full support of the community, we come back up, and then it's great. From there, and then it's more about, because you always want to be better, so it's more about how to make ourselves better now. So it's just constant. It's very stressful, but you enjoying it a lot, I think, because I mean, everyone say if you own your own business, it's nice, you can do whatever you want, but it's not really the case. Honestly, I'm more stressful than ever was. So
Because some people might think, you've left fine dining with all those pressures. You're not doing nights. Must be just crazy, but it's not really like that. Hey.
yeah, no, not at all. I mean, it's quite stressful because as a business owner, other than the cooking part, it's just your brain just not really stopping. Really, even if you're sitting down, you don't really stop. You eat somewhere, you start looking at their design, you start looking at how do they take the orders or service wise, and how do they run their food and all that sort of stuff. It's just it's always going through your mind, because it could be better for your business, and you could implement that to your business. And
Yeah,
yeah,
you don't want to miss anything.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's what I said. That's why I mean, like, by not, you never stop learning when you own a business, because you always want to improving. You never really satisfied. Just like, I think, just like any other human, you just never pleased with anything. you always you always want something that you don't have.
So, are you glad you've done it?
Yes, yes, very much so. I never regret
Awesome.
any of this. I mean, it was very hard for me to leave Navi, because I had my best time over there. But then this is also amazing. This is another step in my career that I feel like I had to take, and then I feel like I take the right step, to open this little sandwich shop in Richmond with Erwin as well. Yeah.
Yeah, good on you. So, Barry, I understand you're going to give us a scoop on some Warkop news here on Dirty Linen today.
Yeah, I mean, we have a great news that we can share with everyone, because we opening our second store. Um, don't worry, our loyal customer, because the Richmond one's still going to be there. We're not moving. We're opening a second store, because when I sort of tell people, people go, "Oh, so you're moving? You're going to leave us?" No, 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 it's fine. We're going to run the two shops. That's fine. So no need to worry about it. But it will be, the location. No one knows the location yet, so I'm gonna reveal it now. It's on Little Collins. So in the
Ooh.
one Little Collins. It's actually in the city. Number 13. So
Congratulations.
thank you very much.
So good. So exactly where is it? Is that the top end of Little Collins?
Yes, it's sort of Spring and Little Collins.
That's amazing. And I mean, congratulations. That is so exciting. And, I mean, I love it for you guys, because obviously you like stretching yourself and, taking the next step, which is really, really, really stoked for you. But I think it's also so nice to put that vote of confidence into the city, which has definitely, had its struggles, and especially during the day. So, I mean, tell me about, why you've done that. Do you feel optimistic about the CBD?
I mean, see, we feel like, especially the CBD, been through a lot, in the past 3 years, and when we see people start coming back to the city, to the CBD, doing their own stuff again, people start going back to work, and they do their own shopping. They start hang out in the city again. So people, Melbourne City start to come up alive again. Feels like, it's start to be back to like where it was before, which is, I found it very amazing. It's great. It's amazing to see, and I feel like, why don't we open in the city, and then we do our bit, so we can make the city alive again, and then we do what we do, and we chose the city, because we sort of feels like we want to contribute to Melbourne people for what we've been through during the past 3 years, and I'm very, very stoked and excited about this place. And it's I can already see what we're going to do, and it's my mind already start going wild about this place. So
I love it. I'm so moved by that commitment, and this sense that you're giving. It's not just about starting another business. There's more to it than that. It's really beautiful, Barry. I love it.
Thank you, and I mean, we also choose the city because we want to. Because obviously a lot of tourists go to the city more often than anywhere else, so it feels like we want to give that diversity of Melbourne, but where you can literally do anything that you want, and people still gonna love it as long as it's good. The people gonna receive it and be very happy with it. So like for all this. The people that start moving to Melbourne, for whatever reason, working, studies, or whatever reason. And I mean, we just sort of want to show also to them that don't don't be scared, don't be nervous. And then, like I said before, I couldn't speak English 13 years ago. Now I can have my second store in the Melbourne CBD. Who would have thought? I can't even imagine that in a million years,
And you're rocking it on a podcast in English too.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I was very nervous, but then I was like, no, I can speak English. It's fine.
Yeah, bloody oath you can.
Yeah, so no, it's been a great journey in Melbourne, and then it's like, I just wanna let people know that, whoever you are, wherever you come from, it's fun. You'll be fine. The city is amazing especially for like immigrants like myself.
That's so good. What does your family back home think about what you're doing, Barry?
They're very supportive of me opening, becoming chefs and everything. They always like what I'm doing, and then my mom's here at the moment because I was like, just come in for 2 weeks. She was like, no, I want to go for a whole month. I was like, all right, but I have to work. And then she was like, okay, that's fine. I just go to your work every day. So she literally goes to Warkop every day she's going home tomorrow, but until today, she's still going to Warkop.
Wow. Have you got some good ideas from her about new sandwiches?
Yeah, I mean, because obviously because she always come to Warkop every day, she comes home with me. So she would took train and then she go home with me in the car, and then she was like, why don't you do this sandwich? Why don't we do this sandwich? She get all excited about it. So yeah, and then it's kind of like, that was the first time since I owned a business I met my family again, and then it's very, very, very amazing to see my mum that excited about a sandwich, because we don't really eat a sandwich over there in Jakarta.
I love it. She must be so proud of you. And it's really interesting. It's the magic of Melbourne. As soon as someone comes here, their mind is open to new culinary adventures.
Yeah, 100%.
Barry, so good to talk to you. When is the new business going to open?
We aiming for after the Easter break. So we thought we get it done all the the long sort of few days public holidays, and then after that we open with a bang, and then we staying open, and then people can enjoy us more.
Love it.
Yeah.
Congratulations, and thank you so much with sharing us today. Congrats to you and Owen for what you're creating. This great gift to Melbourne. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta @Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.